Welcome. I'm William Wagener from the Santa County Main Jail. Is a man who spent
over 6 years.
6.3 years. Welcome, William Joseph Christopher. Been out of jail now for what, 24 hours?
Almost 24 hours.
You are not convicted of anything yet, are you?
That's correct.
Okay, William Wagener here in Santa Clara County in San Jose. We've just been in the courtroom where William Joseph Christopher was supposed to begin his trial. We have an eyewitness. What did you see, Miss Ashley?
Well, I went in and I purposely had no makeup on, put my hair up, looked like I was freshly out of drug rehab so they wouldn't notice me, and they didn't. And then they called his case, and Lopez went up and said he was representing Christopher, which he isn't. He's been Marsden, he's been fired. And he waived time, which is illegal without the client present and acknowledging that they are waiving time. It's a constitutional right to a speedy trial. He waived time and he waived the appearance.
Didn't he ask the judge to bring him out to get Christopher to waive his
The judge
time?
asked him if he would like to bring Christopher out to get the waiver of time, and he said, "I'll waive my client's appearance."
Does that seem like an illegal act to you?
It is an illegal act. It is an illegal act. It is an illegal act. I mean, they're going to say, well, no, we're allowed to do that in circumstances and this and that. But, you know, we talked to another public defender who said, well, normally if my client's in lockup, they're not going to waive time. They want to get out. So, you know, this particular case has had so many intricacies. And, you know, we've heard in the last 2 weeks that they've had a bunch of behind closed doors meetings with the judge in the chambers, and they have these things called ERC hearings that I talked to the clerk about today, and those are settlement conferences. So you can't, no, the public isn't allowed. It's just basically the two attorneys and the judge sit down and try and hammer out a deal. Well, the defendant's not present for those hearings. The defendant is not present during that. I'm not.
It was the same car, you're right.
It was the same
car, right?
And the same dented bumper and the same parking lights were left on. I mean, it's just, you know, yeah.
Anyway.
They shouldn't be afraid of me, they should be afraid of you. I'm a documentary filmmaker, I'm going after an Oscar. You're going after the entire system. There's a little bit of a difference there. Different motives.
In this case, then, they're basically holding secret hearings to railroad William Joseph Christopher, and he's not even allowed in his own hearings. They're waiving his time. He wasn't even present in court today, was he?
No. And the soonest we could have a visitation was at 2 o'clock, and I had to be on an airplane.
Miss Ashley, I saw you whisper in the public pretender defender's ear. What did you say to him?
Well, after I heard him waive time, which I know he can't do, I know that was one of the issues, and on several appeals that I have read, the cases were overturned because the defendant himself did not waive time. His attorney waived time, but the defendant had clearly said before, I don't waive time and I demand a jury trial, which is the same thing that happened here with Mr. Christopher. He said, I don't waive time and I demand a jury trial. The concerning thing for me is that there was no court reporter in that room. It was just a judge, and every attorney in every case was given 10 seconds to get their business done. So even if you were there to object, there's no process or procedure in place to say, hey, no, he doesn't waive time. That isn't his lawyer. That person has been Marsden. I basically went to the row behind him and I leaned over and I said, you know, I was pretty certain and had verified it a couple of times that today was his trial date. And he said, no, it hasn't been 60 days. And so it got postponed a week. So basically what that means is next week, if he won't waive time. So what I think is happening is Lopez didn't technically waive time, he waived his appearance so that they didn't have to go get Mr. Christopher, because they have to get him next week and get him to agree to waive time, or they have to say, oh no, it was waived for him. So it's one or the other. They've only got 60 days to have the trial.
spent 6.3 years incarcerated, had 2 preliminary hearings, right?
That's correct.
Basically on a domestic violence, slapping, or something like that incident. Oh, and driving without a California driver's license.
Well, there were 4 charges of domestic and 1 charge of dissuading a witness. And I've been incarcerated for 6.3 years. And it's the second prosecution for the same case. The same case was dropped.
Dismissed.
In '99.
Right. That's what's interesting. Your ex-wife lied so badly in the transcript, it's obvious she didn't tell the truth. The DA,
Daniel Nishigaya.
who's now been promoted to a supervisor assistant DA.
Of course.
He had to dismiss those charges, but he kept you in jail for how many days in '99? You were arrested in June of '99.
That's correct. Yeah, 47 days before I bailed out in '99. So
he's been 45 days in the jail the first time in '99.
47 days. So
47. You bailed out.
Right.
Wow. Can you imagine this, folks? The man had the case dismissed because his ex-wife got caught lying so badly in a courtroom just like this courtroom of Judge Ambrose behind me in Santa Clara County. She lied so badly, the DA himself went to you and said, cop a plea, right?
99. I don't
in
know
99 he did.
I don't know if you know this, but he offered to resolve the entire 5 felony count down to 1 misdemeanor.
To 1 misdemeanor.
And I wouldn't do it because in order to save my parental rights, I couldn't plead guilty even to save myself from a very corrupt system. Because I would have never gotten custody or and visitation rights with this violent, even a misdemeanor.
Well, you believe that, but that may not be true.
Well, this is the legal advice that I received.
For spend on the other attorney.
$14,000, Ingo Brower.
Ingo Brower, yes, good old Ingo Brower. Took you for 14 grand. Did you get 14 grand worth of defense from Ingo Brower?
Ingo Brower is deeply involved in this corruption to cover up the falsification of the transcript. And the falsification of the transcript resulted in aiding and abetting a confessed child abuser. So, and I don't know how, as a father of this child, I don't know how to put in words my outrage that the government has done this to him. Great if you didn't have to say, I believe you. You could just look at a transcript and see that.
Well, if we had an honest transcript, yeah,
yes.
But that's the problem.
I'm just saying, my point is, wouldn't it be great if there wasn't a...
It would be great if we had a videotape of her first preliminary testimony. I would have loved to have seen what she looked like when she kept exaggerating. And the DA had to sort of shout her down and stop her from sticking her foot in her mouth. But what specifically did she do to abuse your son, whose name is Joshua?
I never saw an infant assaulted before. The first time I saw it.
But what specifically, Chris, did you do?
He was 4.5 months old. He was being breastfed, and she was saying that she didn't want to breastfeed him. She was being reluctant to do that. And it was about time to get him on rice cereal, very diluted rice cereal. And I said to her, okay, if you're not going to breastfeed him, I'm going to make up some rice cereal for him. I had him here, supporting him. His head was fit, his face was facing to the back.
Okay, so you're doing it right.
Yeah.
You're doing it right. Go ahead.
Well, she came up and she grabbed onto his leg.
His little leg.
His lower leg. And she leaned back and twisted. Now what she was trying to do was she's saying to me, you know, you're going to let this child go and I'm not going to feed him. And I'm going to, it's an assault, I'm going to hurt him and pull and twist his leg. And you're going to have to let him go. You don't have any choice, do you? Because you love him.
Right.
So I was shocked. I let him go. Because as long as I continued to hold him,
she was
it's a tug of war. She didn't feed him. It's a tug of war. She didn't feed him. It's a tug of war. It's a tug of war.